Hi, everybody. It is March 1st, 2026. I want to say about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. I am Cosmic Weapon of Fool, and this is the Winter Sauce Podcast. We found at wintersauceproductions.com, Winter Sauce Merch, My Spread Shop, YouTube at Kyoto Roller Derby, Instagram Cosmic Weapon of Fool, XWS_CWOT, Telegram Winter Sauce Prod, Telegram Winter Sauce Chat, the 80th Chamber of Shaolin, Facebook at Winter Sauce Podcast, eBay Winter Sauce Prod. I can also be found on Substack, and I am going to have a new Substack post up probably this week, maybe even today, I don't know. And then donations are accepted by Cash App at hashtag WSCWOT. Alright, so bombing the fuck out of Iran. Let's get into that, seeing as how that's everywhere. Now, I already did a video on Iran during the 12-day war that kind of just says how the current Iranian regime was just put into place by the deep state, set up by the globalists, all of that. The previous leader, the Shah of Iran, whose name means light of the Aryans, was probably a little better than the current regime of gypsies. And with that being said, I woke up yesterday morning, realized that this had started, and it's like, yeah, well, I don't care. I'm just going to go about my day. 900 plus strikes in 12 hours. A vast majority of the Iranian government is completely dead. And to my understanding, they're still not surrendering, despite what's coming out there. Because their whole government setup currently is all of the people that do any of the negotiating report back to the supreme leader, who goes nowhere, does nothing, and has absolute authority. Now, when you read a lot of the reactions, or you hear about a lot of this, most of the globalists are gravely concerned about the situation, except the president of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, who offered to fly directly to Tehran in the middle of all of this destruction to mediate a resolution. So while that guy is obviously suicidal and stupid, all the people who set this up are just like, you know what? We're just going to stay the fuck out of this. Because this is, BB, Trump, the Saudis, who are actually the ones who got them to go forward with this and abandon these negotiations. Zelensky, the Ayatollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Hamas and Hezbollah backtracked to moral support, by the way, when they said they were going to get involved and attack Israel if this went down. They all wanted to do this. This is one of those things that when it's all said and done, it's over, some talking head is going to go out there in the media or something and complain about something, and the globalists and all those people just are going to look at this and just go, their response could be, well, you guys wanted to do all of this. You guys wanted to have a war. They blocked the Strait of Hormuz and skyrocketed the price of oil. Everybody wanted to do this for years. We're finally doing this. It's finally happening. And everybody can go and complain about the Zionists and the greater Israel theory and all of that, which is very real, but that's Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, basically Jordan, anything that borders Israel. Iran on a map doesn't necessarily border Israel. They've just been saying for decades that Iran will get and obtain a nuclear weapon, and they claim their nuclear enrichment is for peaceful purposes. However, I'm going to say that there's one flaw with that argument. There are plenty of other forms of energy and power that they could develop there that are not nuclear until the world is ready for the current regime to basically allow for peaceful enrichment, which is probably after all the hardline Zionists in Israel die. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to lie to everybody like they always do, behave like gypsies, and refuse to just accept that, no. Okay? And it's horrible. Bunch of people are dead, destruction everywhere. Some girl's school got blown up, according to the Iranians, 148 dead children. That's the type of crap that's out there. This is bad. This is just fucking, war. And you want to watch down the road. Because you've seen, for anybody who listens to any alt-right-wing media, how it has basically gotten far more anti-Zionist in the past few years. Because before, if you even uttered a word about Israel, AIPAC would shut you down. And now you're seeing all kinds of people go against that. And after this government is toppled, which is what's going to happen, and the money stops and the funding stops, you want to see how many people on the alt-right media just kind of go back to being Zionists. See who's paid by Qatar, who's paid by whatever group or whatever proxy. You know, at some point, some money to the anti-Israeli media is going to stop. And people will just move on. Israel's already buddying up with India. And we're just at a shift where this is going to move on. And this is Trump and BB's last ride. And, you know, nobody else wants this. As I said, nobody else wants this. Nobody else wants to do this. Everybody would much rather have the economy fixed. And I get all that. And I understand everyone's positions, you know, or whatever, that this is just more interventionist war. And I get that. But previous Shah of Iran, whose name meant light of Aryans, substantially better. He just didn't do one thing somebody wanted or something. And now we got this, and it's the deep state's mess. They put these people into power, and sometimes you just gotta take a motherfucker out. That's what this is. Sometimes you just gotta take a motherfucker out. So that's that. And now we're gonna cover something that's a little more relevant to society. That's a little more. This is just another day in the Middle East, bombing the fuck out of Iran. We're gonna. That seems to be a little more relevant in Western society. Bonnie Blue is pregnant. Had unprotected sex with 400 men in a row as part of some OnlyFans breeding event porn stunt. When she contacted, and now she's shocked that she's pregnant. And when she contacted the biological father, he said he already left the country, whatever country they filmed this in, and wants nothing to do with the child, which is just shocking. It is shocking that the kind of man who would go with 399 men and sleep with the same woman in a row and impregnate her would want nothing to do with the child. It is shocking that a person like that would exist. Just shocking. This is literally the Freddy Krueger origin story. This is what the creation of human life has been reduced to. People generally care more about that than somebody than the Middle East blowing the fuck out of each other with weapons and shit. This is more relevant in the cultural lexicon than that. Okay? Because the Iranians, it's just going to be a bunch of politicians going full outrage porn on people and rehearsing the same old script. Oh, it's Trump's fault. It's Bibi's fault. It's Israel's fault. It's like, nobody gives a shit. You guys need to all just kill each other years ago. End this that way. Diplomacy is obviously not going to work. Because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. So on to something that people care more about. What is the Wasserman Media Group? Okay, Wasserman Media Group is a PR firm for several sports and entertainment clients, providing talent representation, which means going and basically either legal services, picking up their mess, or getting bad publicity to go away. Marketing, which is the PR you pay for ads and stuff, and consulting services, which basically, you know, for athletes, musicians, and etc. And consulting services is some guy who goes over to these people's houses and is just like, hey, you know, maybe you shouldn't send a picture of your dick to a 14-year-old girl. That's what consulting services does. Or maybe you shouldn't go out on live TV and deny the Holocaust. Or maybe you shouldn't say the N-word. Maybe you shouldn't, especially at the Grammys or whatever. Maybe you should... That's what consulting services is. Their clients include or included Coldplay, Dropkick Murphys, Imagine Dragons, Fish, Brittany Grenier, the WNBA player who was detained and imprisoned in Russia for weed, Megan Rapone, a popular anti-American, anthem-protest soccer figure, and mostly shitty metalcore bands. It's supposed to be bands, but, whatever. And you go, what does all of this have to do with the podcast about underground, this type of podcast? Well, I always said, it's always known that this type of stuff that even trickles down even into underground music. Well, not directly, but indirectly. Because there are zines or something that have done anti-NSBM articles and stuff. And you go, or do something, and you go read it, and they're owned by this guy, that's owned by this guy, or whatever. And you can follow the tree like Russian nesting dolls. And then you eventually get to some other PR firm or something whose clients include Disney and stuff, and venture capital firms and everything else, and you're starting to see how the tentacles just spread down. And why this is significant is the owner is selling the company after being in the Epstein files. And all these people are distancing themselves, and part of this was even covered in Metal Sucks, who, by the way, the guy who was responsible for that apparently touched a girl at an Avenged Sevenfold concert who was like 12 or something. Or somebody affiliated with one of those leftist anti-NSBM publications. And this is more of the pot calling the kettle black, and this is just all of the fucking trash people in the media blackmailing each other, pulling shit on each other. This is what they do. Okay, CNN had an internal investigation for sexual harassment for something to investigate that. And they had to terminate the investigation and bring in an outside firm because the two people responsible for the investigation sexually assaulted each other or something. That's the kind of crap that's at the top of this. Yet they go out and prove to be righteous saints. That's what's there. That's what's known. One of whom is an individual by the name of Lex Wexner in the Epstein files. Les Wexner. He's a Zionist, CEO of Victoria's Secret, a bunch of trendy clothing companies, Bed Bath and Body Works. He either is or was. That type of stuff. And then they're all, Victoria's Secret went woke and went broke, by the way. And he's a donor to Bush Jr. and Mitt Romney and those type of people. And he eventually left the Republican Party over its ties to populism and everything else. And then when 2028 comes around, that arm of these people is going to try to come back with all their money. Okay, one of those guys. He's listed as a co-conspirator in the Epstein files. Called before Congress, Ohio State Legislature, investigated by the FBI, known Israeli agent, etc. All of that. Okay, so this is definitely, pedo, sex, trafficking. And this is what makes this unique. He believes, and he has said this in a mainstream media article, that to be possessed by a dabuk, a Jewish possessing spirit, with the soul of a dead person, and he gets these fits of motivation called shepikals or something. I can't pronounce that. And this is a type of demon that must be expelled by an exorcist. A fake wine cabinet was listed and sold on eBay for some astronomical amount that was supposedly possessed by one of these things. And this demon was used in as a plot device for the 2012 horror movie, The Possession. The Billionaire Bachelor. Now, this is a PDF you can get off archive.org. All of that. I don't care about this compliance thing. Okay, that you can get off of archive.org. Now, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but this is old. This is, I think, from New Yorker, the New York Magazine, or something, from August 5th, 1985. The morning Leslie Wexner became a billionaire, he woke up worried. But this was not unusual. He always wakes up worried because of his dabuk. DYB BBUK. I would assume, and somebody may want to look into the name of the band, the Buck, which pokes and prods and gives him the itchiness of soul that he calls his shafickles, or whatever that is. Sometimes he runs away from it on the roads of Columbus, or drives away from it in one of his Porsches, or flies from it in one of his planes, but then it's back with his first coffee, his first meeting, nudging at him. And now, perhaps, it is time to reintroduce Leslie Wexner's Debuck, the demon that always wakes up in the morning with Wexner and tweaks and pulls at him. When he was a boy, his father called it tumble or a churning, so he feels molten and unformed, pricked by these spiritual pins and needles. He met this demon again when he was 40 and already worth $500 million. When he climbed the mountain in front of his house in Valley and almost froze to death and decided to change his life. So he hallucinated and had brain damage from this mountain climbing event in the cold. This demon he calls Terminal Shafickles, which made him wander from house to house, repeating the pattern of his childhood on a luxurious scale, wanting more, swallowing companies larger than his own. It is precisely the reason Wexner has $1 billion and didn't stop at, say, $5 million in a new Mercedes every other year in what he calls a normal life. Bridge on Wednesdays, bar mitzvahs on Saturdays at the Winding Hollow Country Club in Columbus, which seemed like Buckingham Palace to him when he was 15. It is why he will have 2,500 stories, 5,000 stories, 20,000 stories instead of 250 or 3, and why he has 6 houses and is building a 7th in Aspen, why he has 2 planes, why he dates more than one woman, why he has no children, why he has his boards, his collections, his Wexner Foundation, is why he goes to Valley for a single night to look at the mountain and hold the woman he has flown in. He has had flown in his arms. It's why he's been married, although after knowing him a year, one girlfriend converted to Judaism and actually changed her last name to Cohen, which Wexner insists was not because of him or because of what it would do to his mother if he married a Christian.
We're just printing money up in this motherfucker, and why do we have to stop for all these people complaining online?
Okay, that is what was there. That's what's at the core of the Epstein files and the Satanism and all the stuff that's there. I mean, they're talking about the black metal Satanism and heavy metal Satanism. I'm talking about the real evil bottomless Satanism that you want nothing to do with. Okay, you want to surrender to that? The Zionist demonancy? Go right ahead. I don't. Now, we're going to take a break from that, and we're going to cover... This is drama related to me. Normally we do a whole segment on this, but we're just making some changes with the podcast. Okay, this is a demo submission I received. And I blocked out the contact information, and while we can't block out the individual's stage name... And this is, you know, obviously a problem with translation. I just want to put this out here for humorous purposes. And if you are the person who sent me this, we're not doing this to mock you, and I want you to know that. And if you feel that way, I am sorry. But this is why you need to work with companies and people that speak the same language as you. Hi, who am I talking with? I am Manarin da Kalishnikov, not to be confused with Manarin da Kalishnikov from Red Commando. I am from the band Black Commando, and I'm trying to make music with my friends' instruments, but I don't have the instruments. I want to make and contract after a time. That is a submission that we received. Now, I didn't look. I looked up this Red Commando band, and I guess it glorifies Brazilian drug culture or something. And this is probably somebody trying to get around the Brazilian equivalent of the far right special needs division there. But this is the type of stuff that people. This is the type of demo submissions and stuff that gets circulated that everybody just deletes. And this is why people need to focus on people who speak the same languages with them until they can build something that gets them the things that they want. And when and they go out and they figure out how to raise the capital to pay for all of this stuff. This is why people need to help those who help themselves rather than not send me this where they're trying to have red and black versions of the same band. Like luchadors. Now, this is another thing that I received. Now, I had to redact most of this because of the song titles. And I was sent this by somebody who came up and spoke to me about this, and I was sent this. And this is somebody who has taken a larger compilation that was released through our industrial arm. Probably 10 years ago. I don't recall the exact dates offhand. And this is something that has not been recirculated, has not been reprinted. It probably is not musically any good. This is when he looked into it, this is a link he was taken to for a supposed download site. However, he says when he clicks these free download links, it takes him to a paywall that wants to bill him €100 for the download of whatever this is. And you go, well, how does this makes no sense. Nobody would pay that for this. Nobody would pay that for a Power Electronics download. And that is accurate. That is an accurate statement, and you are of sound mind thinking that. And this is where it gets weirder. Ashton, as you can see by this individual's picture, is your typical NSBM consumer who would consume something like this freely. Hey, this website is asking for my card number. It's not a cheating, I hope. And then Leah Mayer, I would assume... yeah, that's a picture of a kid. And this is presumably on Facebook somewhere, or some type of Facebook-like site. He's got one like. Don't worry, dude. Card number's required, and then I once again had to redact the name of the files, because I want to keep this up to illustrate my point. Free, 14 days access to hundreds of thousands of different files and media. By the end of the trial, just cancel the subscription with a couple of clicks and you lose nothing. 17 likes. Okay? This apparently is somehow related to the other screenshot I showed you. And you go, well, what these people are talking about makes absolutely no sense if you factor in the source of material they're talking about. And you are correct. This is not me being delusional and assuming I'm some type of massive selling artist. This is what we are. When you look at it through the lens of what it factually accurately is, this is an example of bot traffic in the dead internet theory. And they're using our intellectual property to advance this. Relegated to AI-Slop. Okay, the dead internet theory is the theory that the internet currently mostly is or will be bot traffic. AI-generated content is slowly taking over online. My prepaid postage provider is an AI. I want you people to understand how relevant this is. If I have to email it for something, which I've had to do a few times, I email it, something responds, and I have to converse with it, exchange emails with it like it's an actual person. But it is a digital entity that communicates with a pirate motive. Okay? That's what's out there. I mean, yeah, you start to see some of these, AI chats and help or whatever if you call tech support or had to spend an entire day on the phone for a week after having UPS in Milan put an $818 hold on my bank account, which doesn't make any sense. I have to go to them and have to call all these different people and talk to all these different things to get a hold of somebody with customer service for them to finally decide they want to charge me. No response from anybody, no explanation as to why that happened. Complete disaster. That's what's out there. And studies say as early as 2024, and again, these are studies, so you know they're fake, or that the sampling is off or something. Automated traffic counted for 51% of internet usage in 2024. So when you start arguing with some of these people online, they're just bots. AI-generated articles surpassed human-generated articles in 2024. And I'm not talking about stuff written by Copilot or whatever Microsoft and Adobe's thing is, which is just a way for corporate bureaucrats to just generate other reports and content for other corporate bureaucrats that no one reads. Because they then plug those in and have AI summarize it. See, this is the great replacement that everyone says is racist. AI agents, which are common in crypto, which again, supposed to be controlled by Epstein and just that cabal already got their fingers in it, so it's not a Trojan horse. Get out of that. Are now acting on behalf of consumers. So you can get AI agents to go out and act as your personal fixer or whatever you want. Amazon had to sue another AI company, Perplexity, I should capitalize that, because it was having AI make purchases from them masquerading as humans. That is a form of cyber warfare. Okay, and you have these entities and companies, these corporate entities, because corporations are people in the sense that you would regard Amazon as its own corporate entity or company or structure, is having a war with another AI company. It just happens in the courts, and this is metaphysical meta warfare. That, right there. This. And everybody says this shit doesn't exist. Everybody says that if you talk about it, you're just schizophrenic. It's like, no. And now we have to prove personhood. See, we're just seeing society just split off with the fucking transhumanism and everything else. And we've literally created another digital species. That's what's out there. I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast, this edition. I'm going to be playing something from the Raven Dark's Monarch Mechanical album, Sobre Ascensas, on the end of this. We have the last copies of that on LP, and while I have to go through the remaining stock, some of those may have been gotten warped in storage, and that could be something that we have to discontinue. So if anybody's looking to get a copy of that, should probably get that sooner rather than later. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
prisioneiros espectrais, habitantes das profundezas. Soem o clarim e dirão adeus ao que nos deixaram. Campanha de extermínio coletivo, barbárie e intolerância, o extermínio da raça humana. Anti-Humanismo Patrio. Máquina da morte, campanha de extermínio coletivo, barbárie e intolerância, o extermínio da raça humana. Tendências nihilistas e suicidas, intolerância ao crescimento irracional, ódio febril, frieza. Ensinei no crematório.